the absolute right for presumption of innocence, correct? I've explained to you that the state of Tennessee must prove each and every element of each and every offense beyond a reasonable doubt, correct? Correct. I've also explained to you under the Fifth and Sixth Amendment, you never have to prove your innocence. You understand that? And you understand if you choose not to testify in this trial, that the judge will instruct the jury not to create any inference that's negative of guilt, etc., if you choose not to testify. Do you understand that? Okay. Have I adequately and effectively explained to you your constitutional rights as it relates to whether we should put on a defense in your case? Have we met and discussed those things strategically?
We have.
Have we met yesterday?
We did.
Have we met this morning?
We did.
After hearing the proof in this case and reviewing the proof and the evidence in this case and listening to mine and Mr. Ammon's explanation of your fundamental constitutional rights, you understand that you have the right not to testify, correct?
I do.
You understand you have the right to testify.
I do.
Would you tell Judge Hickson what your decision is?
I wish to testify.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Paschel. Let me ask you just a few follow-up questions. You can have a seat if you'd like.
All right, so the 43-year-old is accused of assaulting his ex-fiancée, Kristen Wilson Chapman, back in 2019. He's facing charges of aggravated kidnapping, domestic assault, interfering with an emergency call, and vandalism. The kidnapping because he is said to have stopped her from leaving, taking her phone so she couldn't call for help, taking her car keys as well. She had several injuries, most notably a knot on her forehead that the jury saw on Wednesday that was the size of a fist. And the judge let the jury go on a quick break. They're walking into the courtroom right now, and I just want to provide you with some information we just got from our field producer, Beth, that some of these jurors look to her to appear angry at what the defendant has been saying on the stand. He said such things as, quote, she tumbled out of the house, she bounced around the wall. Now it is time for the cross-examination. Let's go.
Is that right?
I remodel them and do rentals and stuff.
Okay, that's what you're currently doing?
Yes.
Okay. Have you been doing anything else in the past few years other than that to earn money?
I was on a TV show.
Okay, you were on a TV show?
Yes.
And what TV show was that?
90 Day Fiance.
And what's the premise of that show?
It's a reality show showing a real character, albeit in this situation it's me. I went to Russia to visit somebody I had been speaking to online.
Okay, it's basically it's a show where you're kind of looking for a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife sort of thing. Is that right? Looking for love. 90 Day Fiance.
No,
It's not that.
No, it's not.
Your Honor, I asked Mr. Paschel about his employment history, so obviously that was in the scope of direct, but getting into the dynamics of 90 Day Fiance, I think is beyond the scope of my direct, and also would not be appropriate under 401s, does not make because it make the fact the consequence more or less probable. So I would object to us going down that rabbit hole.
Judge, that's all I was going to ask, is just for clarity's sake of what the show kind of is.
Okay, very well.
You've also been on other television shows, though. Is that correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
It just goes into his employment, Judge. I'm just trying to... May we approach?
Sure.
Is that correct?
I have.
And what were those programs?
I was an extra on stuff. You get paid $50 a day or something. It's Snapped, some ID channel shows.
Okay. And you actually got on, you got cast on the 90 Day Fiancé after June the 9th of 2019, correct?
I was on the show after that, yeah. We filmed after that.
You were on the show for a while, a few months, is that correct?
On the,
On 90 Day Fiancé.
we filmed for 3 weeks. I don't know if that's the scope of what you're asking, but we only filmed for 3 weeks.
Okay.
They extended it, so if you're on the show, it's basically you get a 10-minute excerpt of filming nonstop for 3 weeks. So I don't know how to answer your question.
The show aired while this case has been pending, did it
Yes,
not?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there was actually a petition at one point
Judge,
by fans.
I thought we were done with this line of questioning. She said she was a petition about the show. I want to renew my objection to relevance. I mean, it's,
I hadn't heard the question. And we didn't say we were done with it, for the record, but I hadn't heard the question.
I meant I was going to ask them about the premise. But this, no, you're correct, Judge.
There are so many better things these prosecutors can start with, namely those photographs. We know that fans petitioned to get him off of that show, but she is struggling to get this in because of the objections. If it were me, I would put those photos up on that big screen and make him look at them. That is how I would start this cross-examination, saying, this was your fiance. You recognize her. You recognize her hair, you recognize her nose, and you recognize that knot in the middle of her forehead, don't you? I would start off so powerfully. This, after that testimony he just gave, this prosecution team has so much to cross him on, namely those statements where he is claiming that she tumbled out of her house, and that is how she injured herself, and she bounced around the wall. His words. He claims she took a tumble over the hedges, and all of that caused those brutal injuries we saw yesterday. This prosecution has gold with those photographs. I don't know why they're not up there right now on that screen for this jury to look at and to force him to look at them. That is how I would do it, and this is coming from someone who used to serve as a prosecutor. But here they're talking about his employment and his money. In my view, you got to start off strong. If you have it, go for it, and I don't know why they're not. I understand we've got our guest, Daryl Cohen, standing by for us in Atlanta. He was a prosecutor, too, does criminal defense work. Daryl, this start to the cross. Weigh in, please.
Well, I think that we have to realize that we're looking at a jury, and juries don't understand what's going on. We know the entire story. Why the prosecutors, and I agree with you, are not starting with a smash, bam, shock and awe is beyond me. Those photographs are gorgeous. Those photographs are poignant. Those photographs say what they need to say. So I agree with you.
Are you aware of that?
Completely agree.
We all had petitions. We're characters in the show, and people hate us or they like us. So many of the cast on my same season had petitions for various reasons.
So you had one specifically related to these criminal charges?
I'm not.
You're not aware?
No, I'm not.
Okay. You are aware that you were not invited back to the reunion special?
That's not true.
You were at the reunion special that aired?
I was not.
So you were not invited back?
It wasn't nothing to do with invitation. We chose not to do that. That was a choice.
Okay. If you have a YouTube channel, is that correct?
I do, yeah.
You do interviews on your YouTube channel?
No, I don't think I have, that I can recall, think of an interview that I've done on my YouTube channel.
You've never done an interview on YouTube?
On YouTube or my YouTube channel?
Yes, on YouTube. You've never done an interview regarding your time on the show on YouTube?
I've never done a YouTube recording, no.
You've never done an interview that was then put on YouTube regarding the show?
I never put an interview on YouTube. That's correct.
That anybody put on YouTube?
I don't know what somebody else might have done.
Okay, so you're saying right now that you are not aware of,
I'll let her rephrase the question and ask it.
so what you're saying right now is, to your knowledge, you have never done an interview that has then been placed onto YouTube regarding the show.
I don't know. They use a lot of platforms. If I've done an interview, they use it for their own platform, or potentially it could have gone to YouTube. I mean, a lot of people copy interviews and post them for views, so therefore they can try to monetize their channel, but I don't know.
But you have done interviews regarding the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you said in these interviews that you were not invited back to the reunion because of the pending criminal case, would that be the truth?
We chose, these interviews are not based on, they're for views. They're for a lot of stuff they do clickbait, a lot of stuff they tell you what to say, a lot of things they try to steer you in a certain direction. So a lot of this is clickbait, where people click on it and try to make money for their channel. And so a lot of these YouTube, or not YouTube per se, a lot of these interviews are rehearsed, and they give you what to say prior to doing it. So I don't know if I've stated that before.
Okay. And you also said that you've never done an interview that you personally put on your YouTube channel. Is that correct?
To the best of my knowledge, I don't recall an interview. I would do what I was saying and take other people's interviews and put them on mine. It had nothing to do with me, though.
You don't recall uploading an interview to your personal YouTube channel? Let's see here. Make sure I got the right date and time. Titled "The Allegations, the Women." You remember doing that?
I do.
And that was where somebody was asking you questions,
Yes.
and that was something that you specifically put on your YouTube channel.
That is correct.
So that was an interview you did.
Sort of. I mean, not really. I didn't have an interviewer, but yes, there was a back and forth with somebody.
Okay. Well, somebody was asking you questions, weren't they?
Yes, yes.
And you talked about this case, actually, in that video, didn't you?
Honestly, I don't recall.
You don't recall saying that these allegations from Ms. Wilson only came to keep you from a custody battle, to help your ex-wives in a custody battle?
Honestly, I don't recall. I mean, it's probably a couple years ago, and I actually had forgotten about that upload prior to you saying it.
So you don't recall saying that Ms. Wilson made these allegations only after you wanted to end your relationship with her and to help your ex-wives in a custody case. You don't recall saying that in that interview?
I honestly don't recall saying that in that interview, no.
And you don't recall also,
Well, I think the proper way is asking if he recalls, and then under present recollection and fresh, under 612, showing him a copy of the interview. I would object to her characterizing an interview without the appropriate evidentiary foundation.
I think she's appropriately impeaching you as a potential prior inconsistent statement, so I'll respectfully overrule the objection.
you also stated on direct examination you met Ms. Wilson in December of 2017, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said that you all hit it off quickly,
Yeah, we started off as friends, but we moved pretty quickly, yes.
began dating pretty soon thereafter.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you say you all became engaged?
I didn't, but I don't remember when, maybe the beginning of 2019 sometime, possibly?
Beginning of 2019.
That's a huge guesstimate, I'm not sure.
Do you remember on May the 17th of 2019 stating that you weren't dating anyone when you were in another proceeding?
Your Honor, we would object to statements made prior to this case even occurring in terms of